Welcome back to Adventures with Bam. I'm Brent Billings.
And I am Maggie Billings.
This episode has us discussing the concept of a personal retreat day.
What a game changer it is.
This is an Impact Campus Ministries policy that I don't know when it originated, but I get the impression that it goes back quite far. Probably close to the founding of the ministry. I don't know.
Bless whose ever ideas this was. Bless them.
So let me read the requirements. Well, I'm gonna make some grammatical corrections and some shortening.
Please do.
But it says ICM staff are required to participate in the personal retreat day each month, intended to help promote strong spiritual health within the organization. Each staff member is expected to take one full day each month as a paid workday to retreat from normal work activities. The day should be focused on practicing spiritual disciplines. For example, scripture reading, journaling, fasting, prayer, meditation, silence, solitude, whatever. Lots of options. Generally, not all of them on the same day. Attention should be given to listening for God's guidance relating to ministry issues, planning, and goal development. Each staff member is also required to complete the official PRD report form. Failure to perform and report on the PRD activity is a serious matter, blah, blah, blah. You can get fired if you don't do it.
I don't think I knew that part.
Mm-hmm. So I've been doing this since January 2020 when I started with Impact.
So you pick your own day.
Yeah.
Tell me everything.
I mean, that's it. I picked the day.
Do you how do you feel that those have affected your spiritual and personal health?
Well, and I actually had to share about my PRD experiences on our most recent staff call. And my feelings on it were like I'm in like a little bit of a valley in regards to it.
Okay.
Like I do it because it's required, but I generally don't want to do it because I have too many other things going on.
Sure.
And so that is kind of the beauty of it is like,
that's
it doesn't matter how much is going on. You do it anyway.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the same concept as Sabbath.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, generally it's been great. And some days are better than others. Some days are like wildly refreshing or illuminating or whatever. And other days are like, man, I don't know if I really got anywhere with anything.
Sure.
And I think that's true of the normal work activity days too. Sometimes it feels like you're just kind of spinning your wheels in whatever project you're working on. And then other days you feel incredibly productive. So it's sort of the same as that, but it's been good.
Can you think of if you've ever had like a big breakthrough moment or something of that nature as a result of a PRD?
One of my favorites was a day that I decided to just start driving and see where I ended up. And I wound up in Grangeville and I stopped at a store and got some food. And then I was like, I'm going to like drive up into the mountains or whatever. So I went up out of Grangeville, like maybe a mile or two. Like I was barely out of town. And there was like this sharp turn in the road with like a little pull off spot. So I pulled off there and then realized I was right next to a stream. And then I went down to the stream and was just looking at the water and listening to the sound. And then this dragonfly like came up right in front of me and just kind of hovered there. And I've never really cared about dragonflies, but it just felt like the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And like this moment of stillness and like God saying like, hey, I see you there. Like, even though whatever. And it was a really cool experience. Wow. And I was like, did I drive 2 hours for a dragonfly? Like, I guess so. I don't know.
Why not?
Yeah.
I love that. I remember you telling me about that afterward.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But it is a practice that you have adopted as well.
Yes. I feel like a couple years into you doing this, I was like, hey, you know who else needs personal retreat days? Moms. Because ain't nobody paying us at all.
Which is part of the problem.
It's part of the problem. I mean, obviously I have my, my paid job that I go into on Fridays, and I have my violin teaching that I get paid to do. But the rest of the time, like, I'm busting tail all the time, doing a lot of work. I mean, if we were to tally up the costs, like of hiring someone to do all the things that I do, that moms do, like it would be an enormous amount of money. So,
Sure.
not getting paid to do those things, but also not getting breaks.
And also not getting paid to take the breaks.
I mean, well, yeah. So yeah, a couple years ago, I was like, I am going to start. I didn't really ask you. I kind of told you, because I'm learning to advocate for myself. So yeah, it's been, I think, a learning curve for me, for sure. The first couple times that I did it, I was like, this is going to be great. I'm going to read all day. I have this stack of books. I'm just going to sit on the beach and I'm going to read. And this had been going on for a while and I could never really, so I've always just thought that I'm not a good reader, because the problem was I'd sit down to read a book and crack it open, and about 30 minutes in, just couldn't focus anymore. Like read the same sentence over and over and like not focus. And I feel like my eyes just like physically couldn't focus, but my brain also couldn't focus. And then if I tried to power through, I felt like I was spinning my wheels. And I remember after like my second PRD that I ever did, I was so disappointed because all I wanted to do was read, and I tried and I felt like it didn't go anywhere. And then the rest of the day I was like, wait, I can't really read signs. like that's only 30 feet away and I should be able to read that. Why can't I read it? I think I mentioned it to someone. They're like, what if you need glasses? Like, hello, that's the most obvious thing, but just never occurred to me because I've always been told, oh, you have 20/20 vision. You don't need glasses. But then it was like every time I tried to read, it was just a dumpster fire. So shortly after, made an appointment for the eye doctor, and sure enough, I do have 20/20, but I also have astigmatism and I get eye strain really bad when I read. So they said, like, we'll give you a prescription. And I almost can't even talk about it without getting emotional because I think about when I got the glasses.
Yep.
When I got the glasses and I went for my, it sounds so dumb, but when you've never been able to read for more than 30 minutes before, and then you do, I like my first PRD when I made it past the 30-minute mark, and I was like, oh, I've been reading for 45 minutes and I can still see. I've been reading for an hour. Like I read for 2 hours and was just like crying the whole time because I was like, this is amazing. Like,
No.
people can do this. Like this is how people read books. They just read and read for hours as long as they want. Their body doesn't give out. So yeah, it like honestly took me like a year to get used to that, to the point where I could read for more than an hour without just crying of gratitude. So, yeah. So I feel like I also pick once a month, and there's some months where it's like, maybe it doesn't work out because we're traveling and, whatever, something happens and I kind of count that as my PRD. But typically once a month, yeah, I pick a day and try to do the same thing. There's times when it's like, okay, it's December and I have to get the rest of this Christmas prep done, and I'll use a chunk of the day to get things checked off that are infinitely easier to do as one person in the car versus one person driving around two adorable children. But typically it's pretty restful and it's pretty refreshing. And I mean, same thing as you said, there's some that are more refreshing and more enlightening than others, but overall I would call it an excellent practice. And no, I don't get paid for it, but I would argue that a rested mom pays for itself because when you have a mom, and obviously like you're not doing nothing. Like you are, I would say that how we have a lot of things divided up in our household is quite a bit more balanced than a lot of couples I know. So it's not like I'm doing everything and you're doing nothing. There's just a lot of like constant, the cooking, the cleaning, the laundry, the yard work, the kids, the homeschool, the potty training, like just it's constant. And when I am overwhelmed and burned out and haven't had a break, like my mood is terrible and I'm exhausted and I can't get anything done, versus I just had my most recent PRD this past Saturday. And guess what? Sunday, I spent all day cleaning and got tons of laundry done and donated like 4 bags of stuff to the thrift shop and vacuumed and hadn't done that in forever. So like when I come back refreshed, I feel like that pays for itself. So if you can do it, if you are married and you can make that work for yourself and your spouse, man, I cannot recommend that highly enough.
Here's another little passage on PRDs from our manual under spiritual health. The PRD comes from the belief that spiritual vitality leads to fruitful ministry. The PRD should serve as a constant reminder that God is the one who produces fruit through our ministry efforts as we walk in trust and obedience to his word. And so this day is set aside from other work duties for prayer and reflection.
I love that.
Curiously, immediately after that, it says, it is also strongly suggested that ICM staff members practice a Sabbath each week.
Strongly suggested. That's a 10 commandments.
That was...
I don't think you have to suggest that. I think you can require that.
I think because it's not a work day or whatever.
Yeah,
but
we can't force you to work if we're not paying or to rest.
That was one of my feedback items when I came on staff, and they're like, "Here, read this manual," and I was like, what now? Strongly suggested. Really?
I mean, yeah, like that's the right. They should strongly suggest it. You shouldn't have to. But
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, it's just ironic that the PRD is required.
Right.
Like, we will fire you if you do not take a PRD every month. But Sabbath is strongly suggested.
Well, because they're not going to pay you for Sabbath.
I get it. I understand the reasoning.
Great.
It's just amusing.
It's funny.
Put next to each other in the manual the way it is.
I love it. That's great. Yeah, I would say, I mean, I feel like you have... I don't know. I feel like I've watched you blossom and seem like you're more rested and more refreshed after a PRD, for sure. And I think that adds up over the years. Like I've seen a lot of just exciting growth and stuff in you. And I don't know, as a dad and as a husband, I think your work culture in general, but part of that includes PRDs, has been really beneficial to your health and our health. And it's been really good.
Well, that is delightful to hear. And I might perhaps share this episode with our staff so they can hear an outside perspective on what, not that they haven't heard of those perspectives themselves, but yeah, just another data point in the value of PRDs.
Yeah.
Like we talk about it every single month. We all do it every single month. Like it is a core thing about who we are as an organization.
Yeah.
So.
Good to have a reminder that matters and it makes a difference.
It's cool.
So if you are starting a company or running a team, might we suggest enforcing paid personal retreat days for your employees?
Boom.